Alrighty, guys. Good afternoon to you all here. It's about 12:30 Central Time here as we're making this video. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful, wonderful Sunday here. The last Sunday of the month of June here, getting ready to cross into July here, going into next week here. We've got a lot to talk about in this video today, guys. We ended up having a bunch of tornadoes last night up in Minnesota and eastern South Dakota. Some large tornadoes, in fact, do damage. We don't know of any fatalities as of right now. It looks to be that everybody was safe from those storms that did hit last night, but just a lot of storms along the South Dakota-Minnesota line last night. So I'm glad to hear everybody's okay from that. It was a very wild night last night for sure. We'll have another round of severe weather today, lesser on the tornado side of things. We'll talk more wind, more hail. We'll talk about all that here in just a minute. But severe weather will start to end as we go towards the week here, and we'll really start to see more of a kind of a relaxing pattern before things kind of maybe ramp back up going into the middle and end of July here. The biggest thing we're going to be talking about, guys, is the tropics today. We now have Tropical Storm Barry, as I told you guys yesterday in the video, would be forming this morning. We have Tropical Storm Barry down here getting ready to make landfall in Mexico tomorrow morning here. This is our second named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. This is not expected to bring United States impacts whatsoever. Maybe some rain and thunderstorms down here to southern portions of Texas, but other than that, Tropical Storm Barry is going to be making landfall at some point between tonight and tomorrow morning across southern Mexico. We've also got Tropical Storm Flossie down here. Great name for that storm. But Tropical Storm Flossie getting ready to become a hurricane later on tomorrow as well. Category 1 hurricane expected out of that storm. That will continue to work its way towards Baja California, potentially bringing some impacts to you guys up in Baja here. So we'll have to watch this very closely as well going into tomorrow and into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. But then other than that, guys, I mentioned also the chance for a close to home storm throughout the next 7 days here. We now have the National Hurricane Center highlighting a 20% chance of a tropical storm developing in the next 7 days here. And the chances probably of this will go up as we kind of get more details on what's going to be happening. What's basically going to happen in a nutshell here is we've got a stalled out cold front that's going to sit here over the next couple of days, and it's going to bring a lot of rainfall to Florida. A lot of times when you get these cold fronts that set up early in the season here or mid-season or late in the season, they can sometimes develop into a low pressure. And if a low pressure develops with the temperatures and the water that we have right now, with there being lack of shear, this could develop well enough into a storm that we know we're going to have to watch very closely. So we could be looking at our C-named storm, third named storm of the year, going into late next week and even into next weekend. Somewhere on the west side of Florida, east side of Florida, there's a big area to watch here. Some models have this thing going up here towards South Carolina as a low and tropical storm. Some models have this moving up into like the panhandle of Florida and barely becoming anything. So we got a lot of things we got to watch in the tropics over the next couple of days, and we'll have a weather update later on this afternoon here, kind of talking about this on stream, kind of getting you guys ready to go for this. But outside of that, though, we are going to just have a lot of rainfall that's going to be ongoing from Louisiana back into portions of Florida here. We could even exceed up to potentially a foot of rainfall in some areas through the next 5 to 7 days. So flash flooding will be a concern. If you are down here in the Florida area, getting down into the Carolinas, getting down into just the Southeast in general, this moisture will get pushed north later towards the end of next weekend. So I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to have a lot of 4th of July celebrations unless you do them earlier or after the 4th of July here. There's going to be a problem with that going into this week, and we'll kind of talk about what that's going to look like here in a minute. You can see we do have a severe weather setup today. Like I said, severe weather risk on the East Coast and as well in the plains here. Today will be our last big risk zone for the next week or so here. We probably will have severe weather return going into Friday, but tomorrow and going into Tuesday, we don't expect to have a lot of big time severe weather. Today will probably be that last day in terms of like the wind, the hail threat, the isolated tornado threat kind of setup. So we'll talk about all that, break that down here in just a second. I did want to hop over just so you guys can officially see from the National Hurricane Center here. We are watching that 20% chance of a tropical cyclone potentially developing in the next 7 days. You can see very, very close to making landfall over here in Mexico. So this is a very similar pattern, kind of what we saw last year, where the season kind of got going late, and then we ended up seeing a couple storms fire off before the month of July got here. And once July, August, and September got here, we went through the alphabet pretty quickly. So once we get back from vacation next week, if you guys don't remember, we are going to be leaving to go on vacation on Wednesday. So I will not be having any more videos after Wednesday until we get back from vacation the following Monday. So I'll have a video tonight, or not a video tonight. I'll have a video tomorrow. I have one Tuesday, and I have one Wednesday morning, and then we will be gone until that following Monday. So if anything happens in the tropics or anything happens severe weather-wise, I might be able to put together a last-minute video while we're on the road. But other than that, there won't be any coverage or anything until we get back from vacation that July 7th. So weather happens even when you go on vacation. I can't cover everything. I try my best, guys, but you guys will probably be left hanging with this one here, but I'll get as many updates out to you guys as we can before we get to go on our trip here, as well as even in between there. So we'll be keeping you guys updated on that. So you don't need to be panicking along the East Coast here in Florida. This is just something to watch. We'll keep you guys updated with that. I'll go ahead and hop over to the Storm Prediction Center here, where we do have our risk zones for today. We do have a small marginal risk. Once again, this has been a theme over here along the East Coast, where we've had these risk zones in place here from Baltimore, Washington, D.C., back into Virginia here. Marginal wind and hail marginal risk for you guys over here. Really looking at more of a 60 to 70 mile per hour wind threat. We do have 2 slight risk zones for today from UP Michigan back down here into eastern and western portions of Wisconsin / Iowa, and then another slight risk that expanded overnight last night through this morning, basically from the plains over here into portions of Missouri here. And these are mostly going to be wind threats today. We are actually not looking at a highlighted risk zone for tornadoes, although that risk zone is less than 2% today. We will still have a brief chance for an isolated tornado somewhere. It always happens somewhere with these risk zones. Outside of that slight risk, we have a marginal risk. 2% tornado risk is less than 2%, so not looking at a big tornado risk today. Really going to be looking more at that wind threat. So the slight risks are out for winds up to 70 miles per hour in those slight risk yellow colors, and as well in the maroon color there, we could see winds up to 70, and then the hail threat also up to 15 and 5% here. So if anything changes through the afternoon here, we'll keep you guys updated on that. I'll be on standby for a stream if we need to be. I don't have any big time plans or anything today, so if we need to get on, we will. We get to tomorrow's forecast, and this does shift in the Ohio River Valley here. We got a kind of a weak cold front here. This is mostly going to be a wind and a hail event as well going into tomorrow. Not looking at a isolated tornado risk or any of that here. Could always see a brief tornado. You guys know the plan on that, or you guys know how that works. We've also got a small little marginal risk back over here into Northern California and Southern Oregon that we're going to have to watch out for as well here, just for some wind and some hail. But other than that, tomorrow very, very low end day for severe weather from the Ohio River Valley back down into the plains across Texas and Oklahoma. Tornado threat is at less than 2%, but not 0. Wind threat at 5, and the hail threat at 5 as well up over here into California and Oregon. We get to the day 3 forecast, and there is one more marginal risk back up here as well, getting into the East Coast here, the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast going into Tuesday. And then after that, you guys start to see those lighter green colors disappear where we don't see any general thunderstorms. That is a cold front coming through, and temperatures will actually drop down just a little bit. You're going to kind of feel those dew points relax a little bit going past Tuesday here. We look to have a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday across the Ohio Valley and the Midwest. There could be some storms that return going into Saturday and Sunday of next week, but it does look, if you are on the northern and central portions of the outside of where the Southeast is going to be at, there looks to be a really good chance for a beautiful, beautiful week for the 4th of July. So hopefully we can get that in for you guys. If you're down in the Southeast, like I said, general thunderstorms and even the threat for heavy rainfall will continue through much of the week here. We get to the day 4 through 8 outlook here. We're not expecting much at all either. Like I said, severe weather going to be very, very low. If we see any severe weather, it potentially would be on Friday going into the weekend next week, and we'll kind of talk more about that if anything needs to be changed in terms of that. Here's just a rough estimate of what we're going to see today with the future radar here. It looks like we could see some pretty intense storms off the Rockies later on through the overnight hours. These storms don't typically initiate until around 9 to 10 o'clock, so clusters of storms, maybe a brief spin-up tornado, some wind and some hail will be the primary threats for these events today. Could even see a stronger wind threat develop here, so we do need to watch this. I wouldn't be shocked, given some of the model guidance I've been seeing this morning through mid-afternoon, if we were to get an enhanced risk for wind because of this here. We'll watch this. If something plays out through the overnight hours tonight, we'll be on standby to cover as well, but not something I'm too concerned about. But if you guys are in northern Nebraska or northern Kansas and southern Nebraska, you do need to be watching this. Kansas City, Missouri also seeing some storms later on tonight through the overnight hours, and then eventually that falls apart and we just get this big blob of messy convection with rain and wind and all that stuff. So I'm not looking at a big time event like yesterday. Yesterday was the last kind of big tornado risk we're probably going to see for the next little bit. And then we get through tomorrow, and like I said, showers and storms across the Ohio River Valley draped along a cold front down to the plains there. So not too much in terms of that there, which will be some good news. Let's talk about what we're going to be seeing here over the next couple of days. Like I said, zonal flow is still going to continue across much of the northern portion of the United States. We've got a high pressure attempt down here trying to develop in the portions of the northern Gulf here that may not really get going here. Like I said, really just going to see zonal flow, general thunderstorms in majority of the United States here. As we go into Monday and Tuesday, you can kind of see that shear kind of intensify a little bit here, and this is where we'll have more of an organized threat going into tomorrow and into Tuesday for that Ohio River Valley setup for some type of low-end severe weather setup here. We also need to watch, there is going to be, like I said, a low-pressure system that tries to develop somewhere back over here into the, off the East Coast here, off the coast of Florida, going into late next week that we'll have to keep an eye on. Some models have it, some models don't. We'll talk more about that as we go into the stream this afternoon and then the future videos the next couple of days. But as we go into late next week, it does look to be that most of that zonal flow will start to go away. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow for a little bit of a cooler drop in temperatures going into Thursday, going into Friday here. And eventually, as we go into next weekend, we will probably see a little bit of severe weather up in the high plains, up in the Midwest, going into Friday into Saturday. Much of the United States will eventually be under a ridge here at some point going into late next week. That'll also give us that shot at that low pressure system developing down in the Gulf there. Like I said, the GFS yesterday was very aggressive with that system next week. The European's been pretty consistent with something. GFS does show something late next week and off the east coast of Florida here going into next Sunday and Monday of July 6th and July 7th. And then after that, things just to get really uncertain. It does look to be that severe weather will probably still exist in spurts going into the second week of July. And then maybe we start to see another cooler trend in temperatures and possibly even some more hurricanes down into the Pacific Ocean. So the Pacific is cranking out. The Atlantic's just taking some time to get going. Like I said, we saw this kind of a pattern last year. So we'll keep you guys updated on the tropics and anything that changes over the next couple couple of days. Like I said, I'll be on standby for videos if we need to while I'm on vacation, but it won't be in this format. It'll be just from talking to you guys format. You all mostly know that. As we go into the second, third week of July, we could see some severe weather return across the Ohio River Valley, and things will become a little bit more uncertain after that. So I do want to talk about those rainfall totals here before we wrap things up on this video. Like I said, we'll have a live stream later on this afternoon here for you guys, just kind of talking about what to expect over the next couple of days as we get ready for the holiday season here. I'm super excited. We get to go on a vacation. Just going to be a lot of fun. Mostly, hopefully, everybody can get out there. But the biggest problem is going to be, like I said, that heavy rainfall back down here into Florida. We can see rainfall rates in excess of 1 to 2 inches an hour with some of these storms that come through. You know, looking at these totals here, anybody in western Florida and southern Panhandle could see, and even getting into southeastern Louisiana near New Orleans, we could see anywhere from a foot of rainfall, maybe higher than that in some areas. Mostly going to be looking at about a 3 to 5, 5 to 8 inch ratio of totals for rainfall. And you can see scattered convection. About 1 to 3 inches of rain, maybe some higher totals up in the upper Midwest going into next Monday here as those storm systems work their way through. So, like I said, we'll watch the tropics. We'll keep you guys updated. Just a note on things. Severe weather will kind of come in spurts throughout the week. Not expecting widespread severe weather or anything like we've been seeing. We'll kind of get a break in that. We're watching Tropical Storm Barry to make landfall later on tomorrow, and we're going to watch this pesky little low going into next week here, where we could see the threat for something once again developing, and then we'll kind of talk more as we go towards that time. So, other than that, guys, be safe. Have a wonderful Sunday. Get out and enjoy the weather today. It's a nice one here, at least in the Ohio River Valley where we're at today. Other than that, I'll have some live streams for you guys later on. Be safe, be weather aware, and we'll see you guys in the next one.